Urban community gardening is a booming phenomenon in Syracuse. There are over 25 community gardens in the city alone. The 341 Midland Ave Community Garden, Interfaith Community Garden, and Westcott Community Garden are some of the many gardens throughout the city. So let's take a look at what these gardens do for the community.
I'm Maggie Lane, and I live across the street from this community garden. I've been living across the street for about 32 years or so, and in 1997 we started the garden. It was a vacant lot collecting a lot of trash, and I and two other people on the block requested that the city help us to sort of dig up the first garden that we had. And another woman who worked, she moved off the block, so most of the people that come actually don't live on the block anymore, and it's just me. And whatever we have left over, I give our neighbors. We're sort of learning that it's important to grow what people eat, and so collards are a big, a very popular green.
The people who work on 341 Midland Ave Garden have carte blanche to decide what to grow. Besides collards, they also grow sweet potatoes, rhubarb, parsley, red peppers, tomatoes, onions, and even cultivate decorative flowers and grass.
But we're part of a network of community gardens in the city growing produce.
The Interfaith Community Garden is another one that is part of this Syracuse Grows community.
Hello, my name is Wesley. I am a community garden director for Interfaith Community Garden. Our garden is a community garden where we allow people from the community, mainly the church and pantry partners, to enjoy the produce. Our aim is to fill the pantries. You know, Interfaith Works of Central New York has a pantry partnership, and we try to give all our produce to the pantry so that we know that it can be distributed in the most needed manner. We grow mainly peppers, tomatoes, onions, cucumbers, squash, collards, things that are staples that are continuously harvested throughout the season. You know, we try not to grow things that are like a one and done harvest, even though those are good things to grow, like potatoes. We are more beneficial to the community by growing things that we can harvest every couple of weeks, and that way we'll have a continuous harvest throughout the season. We may also grow things like potatoes or sweet potatoes, but they're not so much to put out because we don't have an abundance of them. And we have Interfaith Works. You know, when we originally started, they were our first sponsor. They organized the garden committee, and from there we have garden members. We have contact with several different networks of gardeners. We incorporate networks like Syracuse Grows, SOFSA. We try to make it so that we're not doing things alone. You know, the benefit to the community is not just the food, but it's the understanding that there is more to the garden than just growing food. It's about networking. It's about community, creating a situation where community members can come together and create something within themselves so that they can feel good about themselves as a community. You know, the more we build that type of thing going on, the food desert becomes something that we talk about and laugh about years later, because now we have community members helping each other, but not just with food, but with things that are sustainable, you know, like recycling, taking care of each other's yards, little things that if you do these things, everything else will be okay. Food deserts are not just a symptom of the food that we don't have access to, but it's the community that we lost. Because within that community, food is an integral part of that. So if we build up the community through things like community gardens, I believe that we could, if not eradicate, but greatly diminish the ideology of a food desert. And that's where we go. We try to do this one garden at a time because within the garden there's an ecosystem of small groups that you take and then you incorporate those into a bigger network, and you have communities that are impactful. And to me, that's the biggest plus side of the garden. The food is great, feeding people, helping people be nourished is great. But if one person does it, try to do it by themselves, it's not that impactful. Yeah, they can feed their family, but there's a bigger family that needs to be fed, and that's what community gardens do for the city of Syracuse.